Okay, when you first open the tracking sheet, hopefully it opens to this first cover sheet tab. This has instructions that you can go over. I'm basically, there's nothing I'm going to go over here that isn't in the instructions somewhere, hopefully. But yeah, hopefully this is helpful for you. So the instructions here, basically the first thing you're going to want to do is make your own copy of it. So you go to the file menu, you make a copy, you give it a name. You can just call it this. It's going to say you have to copy app scripts. There aren't actually any app scripts. So I'm not sure. Unfortunately, like I couldn't get rid of that. There's really nothing in there. If you want to take a look yourself, that's fine. But literally it's just an empty. There's nothing in here. There's no app scripts. So I'm not sure why it's saying that. But anyway, you can make a copy of that to your personal location. And when you make a copy of it, there are certain things that if we update certain things, like the text of the cover sheet, you're not going to get that. But most things will still update for you. There's these hidden do not touch data imports that import from other sheets. So when we modify those other sheets, that will cause your sheet to update as well. So it'll update with the new puzzles, for example, even if you make a copy of it. So that's quite nice. So you're going to make a copy of it, and that way you can track your own local progress. So if you look at, this is the main tab you're going to be using, the Sudoku Adventure Puzzles tab. You'll notice it has every single puzzle from 1 all the way down to, it's not going to have today's in mind because we haven't published today's yet while I'm recording it, but all the way down to Vanishing Point 486, and yours will have more. Yours will at least have 487. So every single puzzle has the number, it's got the title of the puzzle, the setter, and we have filters at the top. So for example, let's say you only want to look at the recent puzzles. You can filter by condition. You can go in here. You can say greater than. You can say greater than 405, right? And you can click OK. And now we've filtered this to only the puzzles from 406 to the end, right? If you want to get rid of the filter, just go in here, change it to none, right? And now we have all of them again. So you can filter that nicely. So the setter, maybe you're like, oh, I really like Bremster's puzzles, right? So you can uncheck everything except Bremster, and then you'll only see Bremster puzzles. So you can hit clear. And then you can hit Bremster OK, and then these are the puzzles Bremster have set for the for Adventure, for example. We can select all here. Okay, now we have every setter. Constraints, you can go in here and you can filter by the individual constraints, but you'll notice they're comma separated. So if you want German Whisper and crop key pairs in puzzles that only have those two, that exactly matches that text, then yeah, that'll work. But we have a more advanced way to filter by constraints, which we'll go over in a second. Of course, there's the puzzle link. I have updated all the old links. They aren't in the video updated, but I've updated it in the sheet. We have our standard Sudoku pad links. So the first 200 and something, we're using tiny URL. Now these are all Sudoku pad links. They're all consistent. They're all with the numbers in it. So I mass converted all those. We have the video link. So if you would like to watch the video, that's helpful. You can also click the video link and you will be able to see what my solve time was, at least what the video time was. So 3:31. So maybe that's something that you'd want to go, okay, maybe I want to try to beat the video time or something, or you can ignore that. And then this solved checkbox is very useful. So as you go through and you solve them, you can just check the ones that you've solved. And if you want, you can then filter by, if you filter by false, then these are the only ones that you haven't solved. If you filter by true, these are the ones you have solved. And you can just filter by everything if you want, just to see everything. And I'll leave these checked for a second, just to keep that. And you can also fill your times. So let's see, my solve time was 11. So you need to start with the hour, with 0 hours, assuming it was 0 hours long. So this was 11 minutes long. This one I solved in 6:36. So 06:36 should work. That's that time there. These are durations. And then here, this would be 6:20. Okay. And so now, by filling in those stats, we have a statistics tab, which is just some handy statistics. You feel free to add more if you want in your copy, but it'll tell you how many you've solved. It'll tell the percentage that you've solved, how much total time you've spent solving adventure, and your average solve time. Now, these two are only going to count the ones that you filled times in for. So these are based on the checkbox, and these are based on the times. If you check something and don't fill a time, it won't use a 0 time for your average. Only the ones you filled in. All right, so I'm going to get rid of that because this is the master sheet, and if someone copies that, they're going to get that. All right, so that's how that works. And then also we have this constraints filter. So these are instructions on how to use it. Feel free to read through that. But the idea is every single constraint that appears is listed here. And if we do end up adding more constraints to the list, this list will auto update. So don't touch this. This uses a data import. So what you can do is you can check the filter boxes. So for example, let's say I'm really interested in Little Killer, and I want to just solve a bunch of Little Killer puzzles. So I'm going to check that Little Killer box here. Then I'm going to go over to here, and anything with Little Killer will have updated to true in the filter match. So then I can go into the filter match, uncheck false, and now I have only the killer puzzles. And notice it's Little Killer plus other things are showing up. You can't do that with this filter here. So that's very handy. Now, one thing to be aware of is if I update this, say I change it to killer cages, this filter isn't going to update automatically for you. You need to uncheck and recheck it, and then it'll update for you. And this is just local to you. These filter match, the true false right now is actually, I'm in a master. I probably shouldn't be doing this in the master sheet, but anyway, I'm going to uncheck that, and I'm going to filter for anything. So hopefully, let's see, what happens if I do this? Yeah, everything's showing up. Perfect. Okay. So that is how you can filter by individual constraints. So you want to practice a specific constraint. You like something specific. Now, variant and other are special. Variant is an indication that one of the listed constraints works differently than standard. So if it was, for example, killer cage, variant, that's an indication that you need to read the rules. Don't assume that they're normal killer cages. There might be some variant of the rule where they look and work kind of like killer cages, but there's some difference to them that's important. So that means if it says variant in the constraint list, that means please read the rules carefully. Other is sometimes there's just very creative puzzles that are just one-off. That's only ever happened once, maybe twice in the entire series. It's just something someone invented for a single puzzle. It's not something you're going to encounter a lot. It's just listed as other. So if you want the most creative puzzles, maybe you could filter by other, and then see what those super special ones are. It basically means read the rules. We can't summarize it in a constraints column. So so that is the tracking sheet. I hope this is helpful for everybody. We put a lot of work into it. If you do encounter any issues, please let me know. Hopefully there aren't any major issues that'll cause you to have to recopy the sheet, but if there are, I will let you know. So cool. All the information you need is in the cover sheet here. And I hope you enjoy this. So that is how this sheet works.